Hey, Childfree family and friends, Cody here. Welcome to Childfree Family's presentation on cash flow and money management. Fun and exciting topic as always. I'm Cody Hetzel, founder of Childfree Family, co-founder of the Childfree Convention, and all-around participant in discussions surrounding the child-free lifestyle. Quick shout out to all the folks in Childfree Fire Facebook group for joining us today as well. I'm an admin there. I'll be joined today by Dr. Jay Zygmunt. Dr. Jay, as he is known by, and his wife have been married for 12 years, and they are child-free. That's always great to know. He has a PhD in adult learning from the University of Connecticut and is a certified financial planner. A key thing to note about Dr. Jay is that he is a fiduciary, which means that he must put the needs and interests of his client ahead of his own, which is always good. On top of that, he is an advice only and fee only certified financial planner. So in other words, he is paid only for his time by his clients. He doesn't receive any commissions, incentives, kickbacks from selling products or recommendations. So a client pays him for his time and advice, and he helps that client learn and manage their own finances, which can include investing. So Dr. J, did I leave anything off there?
No, but here's your trivia for today. My wife and I just moved from Connecticut to Mississippi, 1,200 miles. If you want to see a fun trip, try driving 1,200 miles. My wife has a Prius with 2 Mastiffs and a cat in the car.
Oh man, the 2 Mastiffs. Whew. And
well, the poor cat in the back window.
The poor cat, was it in a crate?
Yes, and heavily drugged.
Oh, there you go. So you meowing the whole time. Oh my goodness, poor thing. So just a quick reminder to the audience that this is going to be streamed live on Facebook as well as the Childfree Family YouTube channel. If you have any questions or comments, just send it to us in the comment section, and at its conclusion, this will be archived so it can be rewatched or seen by new viewers at a later time. And as always, we'll cover a fun little disclaimer here. The following views and thoughts and opinions expressed are for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please seek the assistance of a professional to aid in your financial decisions. I think that'll cover the bases. We're here just to provide some info and have a little fun. And if you guys have anything you want to add or have a question, let us know. So just kind of kicking things off, just to kind of set a baseline and cover the basics. So Dr. J, what is a cash flow, and how does that differ from money management?
Well, I mean, at its basics, cash flow is just money in, money out. And if you don't watch it, it's going to do whatever it wants. You know, my mother always used to joke, you have $20 in your pocket and it burns a hole and it just disappears. Yeah. That's cash flow, simple in and out. You can do that in your bank account. The difference with money management is you're telling your money what you want it to do. And for most people, that's odd. You know, we don't even think about what we do with our money. We just do it. You know, we got to buy something, we buy something. But then the result is, if we say, well, whatever I have left over, I'll pay down my debt, or whatever I have left over, I'll invest. The answer is you'll have nothing left over.
If you don't plan.
If you don't.
And so we're also here to discuss things from a child-free perspective. You're child-free, I'm child-free. We, the child-free people, can kind of be seen as a little bit of an oddity, maybe in the financial realm, because they don't really know what to do with this. Our financial goals may be different than what they have typically come across with someone who has kids. So could you maybe make a note of some noticeable difference from a financial planner standpoint that you see a difference of a child-free person and someone who's a parent in regard to financial planning?
Absolutely. So when I did my CFP training, I realized at the end of it, there was never one mention of what happens if you don't have kids. There's the empty nest. Yeah, there's the empty nest period. Like, I don't have kids right now.
Yeah.
Or everything else. So everything is based on the assumption you have kids. So whenever you think about rules of thumb, every one of those has having kids at the core. So, the fire groups talk about, 4% safe withdrawal and things like that. Well, that assumes you have kids. That also assumes that you're going to give your estate to the kids at the end. So those assumptions, we know what happens when you assume, cause issues. So our foundation is different. And I'm going to share a link in the chat of 7 ways, and you can bring that up, Cody, of some big things that are different for child-free folks. And I'm currently doing some research on this. I'm talking to child-free people all across the country. And one of the biggest things is we have more choices. We can do more than we've ever been than others. We have more flexibility. But that itself can be an issue. You talk to people, well, I could do anything. And you're like, yes, but what are you doing? And it's all of a sudden like that paralysis analysis. And what happens is that flexibility allows us to get away sometimes with behaviors that aren't the best. We joke about it as you can out-earn your stupid. You can out-earn the stupid mistakes you're making, which is good. But then we get years like the last couple of years, and all of a sudden we have to do it differently. We have to look at it differently, and our system falls apart. Some of the other things that are big keys to work out for. One of the things I watch out for with Childfree is what I call the financial bingo. Well, Cody, you don't have kids, so you can take care of mom, or
and for those who might not know, like bingo is a term because it's big in North America and in Europe. It's a game that's played where as you come across in our situation a questioning why you're child free, you deduct a little point in your head, and when you get enough of them, you get bingo, like you've won nothing, like you win absolutely nothing. But it's just a little mental game that child free people have to play. We don't want to play it, but society makes us. And so getting bingoed is a term you're going to hear a lot in the child free community. So it's crazy to think that the family members will come at you with all these financial bingos that we're not used to getting until probably that later part of life, when if you have siblings, it's like we've got kids over here, sister brother has kids over there, you don't have kids, you get mom and dad.
Yep. And so it continues with the other classic question we get, well, who's going to take care of you when you're older? And we have to make a plan for that. By the way, so do parents. The data says that 2.5% of adults 55 and older in the U.S. That are childless, that's technical because
that's the term they use.
That's what they use. 2.5% have any financial support from family. Only 1.5% of parents have any support in their elderly time. So we actually get more support than they do.
That's crazy. I wouldn't think that. That's crazy.
Well, what happens is when somebody asks you the question, who's going to take care of you when you're older, they're really expecting somebody else to take care of them. But that expectation is not real. The difference for child free is we know we have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, who's going to take care of me? Like for my wife and I, like we're planning for that. We're going to take care of ourselves by hiring someone who knows what they're doing, instead of thinking that if we had kids and that kid has no medical knowledge, like how can you truly expect your child to take care of you? I think they just want that compassion, but then they also put that financial burden on them as well, where they may have not done much budgeting and saving, thinking that, well, I'll just move in with the kids. Like that's just what's going to happen. They'll never put me in a retirement home. And life's hard.
Absolutely. And in the U.S., long-term care is going to cost you about $250,000 in today's dollars. Now you look out 20 or 30 years from now, it's actually cheaper to live on a cruise ship year round than it is to be in long-term care.
But in the future, we're going to have robots. So there will be a lot of robots to take care of everyone, hopefully. So, good or bad. Like this.
So I've been asking this question in my interviews about who's going to take care of you when you're older. A large percentage are saying, hey, I want the Sweden plan. I want the exit, and just pick my time. Whatever your plan is, you need to have a financial plan to go with it.
There we go. Yeah.
If you're just going to exit, that's fine. But if you're going to take, heaven forbid you have to pay for Alzheimer's care or something like that, it's $1 million. So we have to have a plan. Yeah.
And not only that, but aging to that plan as well. Like there's hopefully a break in between the time you stop working and the time that you are at that point to where you need that care. You hopefully got a good 20, 25, 30 years in there, and you have to plan for that.
In the U.S., if you hit 65, on average, you'll get 20 more years. So that's the number in the back of your mind. So you have to have a financial plan that does that. And as child free, FIRE is actually an option. Financial independence, retire early. but also I'm seeing more of what I'm calling financial independence, live early, where people turn down the knob on work rather than shut it on or off and follow their passions.
Yeah.
Cody, I know
that's
that's
what
kind
we're
of
doing. Yeah, that's exactly what my wife and I are doing. Like we, had a business, and we sold the business, and it's not like it was like a marquee blockbuster deal, but we had already done enough with our financial savings and retirement funds where we knew that, we don't have to work as hard now to maintain our current lifestyle. We're debt free. So it's a lot easier to make your life, go by and enjoy things when you don't have a huge amount of debt to deal with. So yeah, we're living more of the file plan where my wife gets to do her passion projects. I get to do mine, which are, working with the child-free community, and we're loving it. Like, it's great. And I'm 43 years old. So we really put this plan in motion probably starting in our mid 30s. So we really got rolling kind of in a short time frame.
That's right on. And you guys made a choice. Rather than being unhappy with your life in some job, you can tune your work and say, okay, I'll work a little less and more, live off your finances or not. You might not be able to have as nice stuff, whatever it is, but you're happier with your life. Is that fair?
Yeah. Our car is an 08. I mean, so it's an antique, I guess, by terms, but it's a great car. It runs well. I don't need to buy a new car. That's just kind of how I look at things.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm on the waiting list for the Tesla Cybertruck forever, and but I'm buying it in cash.
Don't throw any rocks
that's
at
my
it.
Toy. So
yeah, well, there you go. Well, and that's one of those things. Like, again, budgeting, you plan for that expense. Like, that's kind of the whole key and goal there.
Absolutely.
And so, as you mentioned, like the financial planners, when they go through their courses and their trainings, again, are we missing from that equation as they're going through? They just literally, if I walk in, and this happened when my wife and I met our first financial planner, he was kind of thrown for a loop. He's like, you guys are good. Like, y'all are doing all right. Like, you're on path. He didn't really have that much advice for us, other than what we were currently doing, because we didn't have like all the expenses that we know of that go with kids, childcare, just the accoutrements that go with a child, the clothes, the toys, the food, all the extra stuff, the starting up a college fund. We didn't have to do that. And so we were able to invest that instead. And it compounds as it does. And that's where looking ahead, it's like, yeah, you're on a good path. But I feel like, and when we left, we kind of looked at each other and it's like, I don't think he has any child-free clients. We had like extra heads when we were in there. But is that kind of what you see in the child-free, the certified financial planning realm?
So to be fair, all the financial planners, we all kind of pick a niche or a specialty. Mine's happens to be child-free. I serve everybody. I don't want to discriminate on whether or not you have kids. But when I said to my peers, hey, I'm going to focus in on child-free, they're like, huh? Who's that? Essentially. And I said to them, look, in the U.S., about 11% of people over 55 are child-free, which means my definition, not having kids, don't plan on having kids. So, and at 55, we're kind of saying, well, the biological age, we're past. So 11% of the U.S. is being underserved or not served.
Not even seen.
What I encourage people like you, Cody, is ask your financial planner, if you're working with one, how is your plan different because you're child-free? And if they give you that deer in the headlight, just walk out.
Yeah.
Because it's not there. So I have colleagues now that come to me and go, hey, I've got, so they come to me, hey, I got somebody who's 60s, single. By the way, keep in mind, 35% of childless people in the U.S. live alone. So she's single, living alone. What do we do for her medical directives and will and who makes it? I'm like, that's easy. I've got a plan for that. But for people that are used to, well, your kids handle this and this is what your family does, it just stops them. Yeah. And the truth is that being child-free doesn't make you rich.
No.
My data, I've been looking at this. It's the same income disparities as the U.S. in general, except what I'm finding is child-free folks tend to have a little less debt, which I'm very happy about. There's a little skew by like $20,000 in net worth of childless versus not, but that's not enough to make a difference. So it's not, hey, you're child free, you're rich.
Mm-hmm.
Your behaviors with money, your decisions with them are what's going to determine whether or not you're comfortable in your finances.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter if you're making minimum wage or if you're making millions.
And that's one of those stereotypes, like you just said. If someone's like, oh, they don't have children, oh, they must have just lots of money, just hiding under their mattress, there are a lot of child-free people and childless people that are basically, they're on a budget, paycheck to paycheck. Like they're looking at every month with their expenses, deciding what bills to pay, and groceries and all of that as well. So yeah, it's one of those a posi-neg, I guess, an assumption that child-free people instantly have money because they're not spending it on kids. That's real.
I think not having kids allows us to have bad behaviors with money if we want to.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have an extra. It's about $18,000 a year to raise a kid. We don't have an extra $18,000 in expenses, so we might be able to get away with spending more money on DoorDash than we should. But that's not necessarily the right answer for us long term.
Yeah. And so, why should child-free people look into having a budget? Why is it important for a child-free person specifically?
The truth is budget's probably good for everybody, but for the child-free folks, we need boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have so many options. We need to know what we can and can't do. And it also allows us to think a little bit harder about what do we want. So when you're using a budget, you're really making decisions today that are going to impact your future.
Mm-hmm.
So you're setting a set of goals and you're saying, okay, rather than buying, for me, my bad habit's Amazon. Do you have one of those, Cody? You have like a spending habit you might need to?
No, I literally, we go into a big box store maybe once a year. Like we just don't. We're both savers, and so that worked out really well.
So this is interesting on budgets. For me, it might help me tune up my Amazon so I'm not spending as much, but it also may help you go, I should spend some money. People that
enjoy life. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to, reality. When you die, you want to have enough money to bury yourself, and that's it.
Well, and to have the monument of gold put in my hometown, that's the other part of it.
Yeah, I mean, but I use budgets for both people that are spending too much and people that are spending too little.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look. I haven't thought of that of having a budget like to have fun, like kind of force yourself. It's like, hey, you've got X amount of dollars to spend on whatever you want. Go crazy. That's a good problem to have, I guess.
Are you a pretty practical person with your money, Cody? Does everything
very,
have a purpose?
Very practical, yeah.
Yeah. So what becomes then with a budget is your practical job then is to have fun with some of it, which could be gifting it. Like if you want to start an animal shelter, that's my wife. You want to start an animal shelter, that's fine. Because the thing is, as child free, we're not so worried about passing an estate to a next generation.
Mm-hmm.
So adding more zeros to our account is not going to make us happier.
Yeah.
And what'll happen is when I work with people on budgets, we'll find that they're spending money on stuff that they really don't care about and ignoring their goals of what they'd really like to do. They're going, I'd like to be like Cody. I'd like to not have to work every day. I'd like to have my own passion business. Cool. Then get on a budget. Mm-hmm. They go, well, but that's a lot of work. You got to do it.
It's got to start somewhere. And that's kind of the thing. And so talking about budgets, there are like 5 of them that we'll cover right here. So I'll let you kind of go over each one. So we have the zero-based budget.
So at its core, you want to treat all budgets to a zero-based. Now it's a technical term, but let's work it through. Bottom line is you want every penny that you come in to have a job. If it doesn't have a job, it's going to disappear. In Cody's example, he might want to put some money in his budget that says, this is for fun. For others, it might be, hey, I need to spend on whatever it is. Because if you say, well, at the end of the month, whatever's left over, I'll put towards investing or debt.
Yeah.
So a zero-based budget says if I've got $1,000 coming in the month, January 1st or February 1st, I have a plan for every single dollar. That doesn't mean I'm going to not do anything fun. I have, let's say $200 that are for food, for going out, whatever it is, that's fine, but it has a task. And what you've done there is made a conscious choice about that. What you're going to see is in the other budgets that they're all kind of spins on a zero base of everything has a job. It's just different ways of categorizing it.
Well, the zero base sounds like the most tedious, I guess would be a good term for it, where accounting for every dollar and where it's going to get to that zero. What would be maybe a scenario where someone would look at that budget as a good example for them?
So let's be technical on this.
Sure.
I don't mean 0 penny, like down to the penny. Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose sleep over that. If I can get to within $50 of a budget, I'm really happy. But what happens is every dollar needs a job. And for people that have never done a budget before, keep in mind the first month you do a budget, it's going to not work. And that's the zero base is just getting you to think about it. So when I work with people, one of the common ones right now, how much do you spend on groceries? You have any idea how much you spend on groceries, Cody, a month?
If I made a guess, I would say 250-ish, give or take.
It's probably a bit more than that. On
Probably.
average, it's actually about $200 a person. Now that was all this inflation. Now it's closer to $300 a person. So what we're doing with the zero base, we want to make sure we have a job. The nerds in the group with the Excel forms literally will have it down to the penny. And then the free spirits are like, yeah, close enough.
Round numbers.
We want to be somewhere in the middle. I don't want you to lose your hair like me over the budget.
Or have this gray trek up even more.
I'm getting there myself.
So the next one that we have up is the pay yourself first budget.
Yeah. So the concept here, as you're looking at pay yourself first, is I've got certain things I want to get done, whether that is my goals, my investments, my whatever it is. I want to make sure to do that. In businesses, if you have a small business, which by the way, Childfree actually you have a higher percentage of people that are small businesses. The way they look at it in a business is called profit first. You take the profit first before you do that. It's great because what it does effectively. So let's say I decide I'm getting out of debt and I need to pay myself first by paying out that debt, and I'm going to pay $500 every month off the top. Well, then I use the rest of my money for my bills. Same if I wanted to be on fire in investing. $500 every month is going to go to investing. Great. Then the rest. And what it does, it actually makes you like live on less, and it gets that that lifestyle creep out. I talked to a gentleman, elderly gentleman, and he had done very well. And I asked him, what's the secret? And he said, look, in almost 30 years ago, he took his paycheck and every time he got a raise, he put it towards investment. He's been living off a paycheck almost at the rate he was getting paid 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And every penny else has gone to investment. By the way, he's done very well for himself.
I can imagine.
Doesn't have a fancy car, doesn't have a fancy house, but he's paying himself first. He says, well, every once in a while I'll take 1% more. I'm like,
yeah.
Wow, you have a lot more discipline than I do.
And that budget is probably one of the ones that's maybe misquoted the most, because I've always told people, hey, pay yourself first. It meant something different to me than what it actually means from the budgeting standpoint, as far as, make sure that you're investing in yourself to the future versus like paying down, expenses now. Does that make sense?
So how do you look at it?
Kind of that way, where if you say, hey, look, I'm going to pay myself out of this paycheck $200 every other week or whatever it is, and you put that money away, and that's money that you're going to invest into your future, whether it's 401k or stocks or whatever, kind of set it and forget it kind of thing. That's the way I viewed pay yourself first, and that could be totally wrong.
No, that works, but the other spin I gave you is, hey, if I've got 10 grand in debt, paying down that debt is actually an investment in my future. Average credit card right now is 16% interest.
Yeah, get rid of that.
So I actually encourage people to get rid of their debt before they invest.
So would pay yourself first not be good if you were a heavy debt person?
Well, it's a priority thing. If you're going to work on a budget in general, credit cards are not going to be your friend. Okay, so the way I look at it, budgets are like diets. The best budget for you is the one that works. Same with diets. Whatever diet works for you, that's it. Cody, do you live on a diet?
No.
And I'll bet you the difference between you and I is if I get a bag of Doritos, I'm going to finish the entire bag of Doritos.
I know I will as well. I'll eat the sleeve of Oreos. It doesn't matter. Like it's all gone.
Yeah. So I look at debt the same way as that bag of Doritos. If you can handle it, if you can just eat one, great. Have a credit card and pay it off every week. If you can't, don't bring it in the house. I can't have a bag of Doritos in the house because it will disappear. Well, for many people, they can't have credit because they'll do the same thing. So in the pay yourself first, if you have debt, first step is you lock all your credit cards and start paying that off because you're paying for your future.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. So the third option we have is the envelope system budget, which sounds even more tedious than the zero-based.
Actually, envelope is a zero-based budget.
Okay.
Technically. Now, this is an old school. So the old school was I have an envelope for my rent, for my food, whatever, and I put cash in the envelope. Okay, so that's the core of this envelope system. There's some online versions of it, but the concept is use cash. Bonus is when you hand over green dollars, you feel something.
Yeah.
Amazon's gotten real good at one click. I don't feel anything. So the envelope, you literally would break out and say, okay, I've got $400 for groceries. Well, the downside of that is when you run out of that 400, that envelope's empty. So it's forcing you to do it. The modern version of this that I do with some people is, so I go back to Amazon because that's my habit.
Sure.
I don't know about you, but at least for me, sometimes I order things and boxes show up on my front step and I don't know what's in them. That's a bad sign. Okay? So if you have Amazon, DoorDash, other habits like that, my encouragement now is to put it on a prepaid debit card.
Okay.
So let's say your budget's $200 for Amazon for the month. You take all your credit cards, all your debit cards off Amazon and only use the prepaid card. Well, the bonus there is when it runs out, you got to wait till next month.
That's it.
That's a modern version of the envelope system.
Okay.
With prepaid debit cards. It just sets some boundaries. I will tell you, one of the things DoorDash did wrong, the year before, they sent out summaries to people of how much you spent on DoorDash for the year. And let's just say some people got shocked by the thousands of dollars they had spent on DoorDash.
Yeah. $10 here, $20 there, $30 here. Yeah, it adds up.
That's exactly what happened. So what we're going to do is like with an envelope system or a prepaid debit card type, DoorDash gets a $100 debit card and that's it. When it runs out, it bounces.
Yeah. Kind of give yourself an allowance other than for the fun things, but then like for your, like you said, your groceries, your rent, like you kind of know the rent's like whatever, $1,200 a month or whatever it might be in your area. So you put that $1,200 in there, or would you get a debit card for all those to be like super up to date? Because who's doing cash these days?
If you need boundaries, the debit card works. Okay. So great example of this, groceries. I can go to Costco, get groceries and a kayak. Well, if I've got $500 in my grocery budget and I just bought a kayak, it's going to look like on paper I spent $500 on groceries. Okay, so it is setting that boundary for yourself. And the truth is, for most people, is just you have to try what works.
Yeah.
What I like with the prepaid debit or the envelope is for those things that you're a little less out of your control. Any apps got to be on a prepaid card because it's just too easy. Let me just keep adding and that, the envelope system does the same thing with cash, but nowadays some places aren't taking cash anymore.
Yeah. Well, even like streaming services, you'll find out, because I think, and we're not sponsored by any of these companies, but Netflix, I think, is going up in their monthly rate. And so people are going to find out if they're not paying attention, like an extra $3, $5 here, like it's going to add up, over the course of a year. So another budget is the 50-30-20 budget. Yeah.
So I gave Cody this answer beforehand, but I'm going to quiz him again. Cody, who popularized the 50-30-20 budget?
My first response was, I assumed it was someone who has written a lot of financial books and came up with this schematic, and that was wrong.
Yeah. So the answer, this is actually Elizabeth Warren actually publicized this with a co-author years ago. So if you look at the 50, 30, 20, 50 is your needs, 30 is your wants, and 20 is, for savings and investing and paying down debt. Here's the problem with it. Most people cannot pay for their wants in 50% of their budget right now.
Yeah.
Household, your household expenses, it would be great if you're making enough money that's all under 50%.
Half of it. Yeah. Yeah.
I got people that are paying half of it for their house alone. So this hasn't aged well.
Yeah.
The concept works. I use a slightly different version of it, looking at must, shoulds, won'ts, and coulds.
Mm-hmm.
But the 50, 30, 20 says, okay, I'm going to take everything I need in my 50%. 30% is what I want, and 20% is saving and paying down for debt. The downside of that is if you have a lot of debt, well, then you're not really paying down the debt. I mean, we talk about school, student loans are $1.7 trillion problem. Mm-hmm. You got to pay that. Otherwise, they're going to double your student loans.
Maintaining it. Yeah.
And wages have not kept up with housing and all the other stuff. So one of the cautions with the 50, 30, 20 is people go, well, I messed up because I can't do this. No, your numbers just don't work. Mm-hmm. This was a great idea when people had disposable income. Yeah.
Like I said, it didn't seem like it would age well just because of just inflation in general. And then, the battle over the $15 minimum wage and trying to bring up the standard of living, that all would have had to hit its mark for that to kind of be valid. I guess that's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. Inflation would have to keep up with wages and housing. And the data says if inflation had kept up, minimum wage would have to be closer to $25 an hour.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Forget 15.
Yep.
I'm in Mississippi. It's still 7.25 here.
Yeah. And the final budget that we have here is the no budget, which I feel that's the one that I've always prescribed to, where if I didn't need it, I just wouldn't buy it. And if I did buy it, I knew I had the money available and I would just pay it off at the end of the month. It's one of those that I feel like that's what worked for me. Am I correct in thinking that's the no budget?
Yeah, that works for you. Or we go the true no budget, which is I don't even have a budget.
Which is kind of it.
Yeah. I mean, some people do like a naughty list. I need to not spend money on these things. That's a no type budget. But then they'll spend it somewhere else. If we go back to the diet example, when they went to low-fat food, what they did was put a lot of sugar into the food. So people ended up with diabetes. It's kind of like you're trading your poison. So, hey, this worked for you, Cody. That's great. But it's hard for people that are spenders. And as we talked, a budget will allow you to actually spend if you're a saver. So we got to find a balance.
Yeah. So speaking of spending, so how should someone plan for a big purchase, a big purchase can mean different things to different people. It might be for college for yourself or continuing your education. It could be a home, either buying it or even renovating a house that you have if you want to redo the kitchen or the bathroom, whatever. It could be vacation and travel, or it could just be getting the next iPhone that comes out, which, I mean, phones aren't cheap. And so to someone that, whatever, $1,000, $1,500, whatever they're going to be going for in the future, is a big purchase for them. How should someone go about trying to work that into their budgeting system?
Yeah. So I'm, just to be transparent, I'm a no debt person. So I'm not going to encourage people to, take out debt for that iPhone or whatever else. I think debt is stealing from your future. And, when you talk about average credit card at 16% interest, that's pretty expensive. So you have to have a plan. What I encourage is, rather than, you might have a big purchase or whatever it is, I call it a goal, whatever that is. Your goal could be, I want to retire in 15 years. Your goal could be, I want to buy a boat. Your goal could be, I want to, redo the kitchen. It could be anything. So we're setting that goal. And if we think a little bit about that pay yourself first budget, effectively we're doing the same thing. So we're paying the goal first. So for example, if we've decided, all right, we need a new car, well, keep in mind right now, car prices are insane. So let's wait a year or two on that one. I just saw recently over here, they were somewhere around $4,000 to $7,000 over sticker price just to buy.
Oh, wow.
So
we'll only charge you $7,000 over our price.
insane. So if your car works right now, you might want to just stick with it for a bit.
Yeah.
But if that's your goal and you say, hey, I need $30,000 for my car, then I want you to work backwards on timing. Do I need it in 5 years, 4 years? And then break it down each month. How much do I need to put aside? Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to have to make some choices. So when I do this with people, I go, okay, I'm working with somebody right now who wants to buy a house. Great. Well, you want to put 20% down. All right, that's $100,000 in many communities. All right, well, how do we save for that? Every single month we have to make a choice. I want that goal versus whatever else I'm going to spend my money on.
Something else. Yeah.
And that's hard. But what you do is if you have that goal, and I've done this with clients, I say, okay, great. You told me your goal is to buy a house in this example. Do you really want to spend the money on having somebody mow your lawn, or do you want to go out and mow your lawn yourself? They go, oh, I want the house. Okay, well, then you're mowing your lawn.
Get the weed eater.
Do you want the house, or do you want to go out to eat? Well, I go, okay, well, then get a pizza. That's $20 and put the rest to the house. And what happens is that goal drives you on that budget to stick within some type of boundaries. If you're doing a budget and you don't have a goal, you're just going to give up on the budget.
That's true. Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. And you had something on your side. Did you want to go over that?
Sure. So the budget system I use, I apologize, there's ladybugs all over our house right now, is I use what's called the money management system. It is a version that looks a lot like that 50-30-20. And let me just I'll add the link for y'all so you can download it. But the first thing is you take a look at what your total income is for the month. Keep in mind this changes month to month. So if you get paid weekly, you might have more pay in a 5-pay month. And the other thing to think about, very common child-free couples or groups, is are we actually doing finances together or are we doing them individually?
And we see that a lot in the child-free forums where couples are getting together, and sometimes they do keep their finances separate, and some people will talk about merging them. So yeah, that's a great first point to make.
Yeah, and we were talking about goals. If you merge your money together, you're working on the same financial goals. If you're doing it separately, which is fine, then you're working on two sets of goals. That doesn't always work for people. So you start with your monthly income, figure out, okay, this is how much I have per month. I encourage people to take 10% off the top for what I call safety and security. That is what grandma used to call the rainy day fund.
Sure.
Okay. We have had enough rain over the past 2 years that everybody should learn having a safety and security fund is important. The other thing this is something like the pay yourself first, in that you're taking it off the top and living under the rest. Then we go into our musts. So this is that 50% of that 50-30-20. This is what you must pay each month. Now, the problem with this is as people go through this, first of all, they confuse musts and wants, or musts and shoulds. Having a roof over my head is a must. A cell phone bill is technically something I should spend money on, not I must. That make sense, Cody?
It does make sense. Yeah.
And people pick on this, if you work from home and you have to have internet for your work, that's a must. But if you just need it to stream Netflix, it's a should. So we run through the must: utilities, house, auto. When you get to your debts, these are your minimum monthly payments because you're required by law or by the contract to do that, or any other payments you have required per month. Now, here's what's going to happen. Once you total those up, we're going to do the math on my take home, minus 10%, and my must. And this is where people often have to stop. What happens for many people is your musts may outweigh your income. And you've been using debt to pay for the rest.
Yeah.
But you don't even know it. The other bonus is for people like Cody that don't do budgets, what I encourage you to do is take this must and automate it all. So if I know I have $2,000 in musts, I can have $2,000 out of my paycheck or wherever else, deposit an account, and then have it automatically withdrawn. The bonus there is all of my stuff to keep the lights on is already paid. The other thing that's a bonus, that's all the stuff that positively impacts your credit score. So it's automatically taken care of.
Yeah.
Once you have your musts, you can move on to your shoulds. Sorry.
That's fine.
So your should list starts with paying off your debt, because I really should be doing that. Then it goes to
so paying off debt, would you focus on the one that has the highest interest rate or the highest balance, or does it depend on the situation?
So what that is a snowball versus avalanche method. The snowball is I pay the smallest ones first and then keep going. The avalanche, I start with the highest interest. Either one works. The bonus of the snowball method is you see progress. That's the psychological difference.
It's an encouragement. Yeah, it's like, attaboy, keep going.
Most of your success with money is actually based on your behaviors with money, not the dollars and cents. If you have a $20,000 bill with high interest and it's going to take you 2 years to pay it off, you're going to give up somewhere in there.
Yeah. Insurmountable.
Yeah. So we're going to focus on our shoulds, and then we continue on to our coulds and won'ts. Coulds, that's your disposable income. Do what you want with it. If you've already paid your shoulds, your musts, I don't care. You want to take it out back and light it on fire, it doesn't matter to you because you already took care of it. If you don't have debt, your investing goes here to the shoulds.
Okay.
So that's where we're going to make that adjustment and say, okay, I want to retire in 20 years. I should put $1,000 a month away. I'm making numbers up. They're not real.
Yeah.
But that would go here in shoulds. And then my coulds are, doesn't matter. Use it for hobbies, do whatever you want with it. But we've already taken care of the important stuff first.
Okay.
So if you can stop sharing there, Cody.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to that? What do you think about breaking in must and shoulds?
I mean, I have to reprogram my brain because I'm a no debt, no budget kind of guy. And so but to hear these plans, it makes sense to me, like from an analytical standpoint. Like if I were starting from scratch right out of college, or even if I didn't go to college, I'm starting my first job and getting a paycheck at a, box store or something. I would see the value in doing this and just breaking it down and getting that right first step in going. Again, that's what the zero debt mindset is my mantra overall. And that kind of moves me to do certain things financially.
Yeah. If you're in zero debt, you can get away with less budgeting. Let's call it that. Because you're not making mistakes. Because you're not going to overdraw your checking account. You're not going to you're just not going to do it. So if you make a mistake month to month, who cares?
Yeah.
Most people have debt and most people aren't saving enough yet. So we have to get on that budget. And to be honest, it's not about how much money you make. I've worked with people that are making, $1,000 a month, and I've worked with people making, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month. The difference if they're going to reach their goals is, are they on a budget and a plan? If they don't have a budget and a plan, they might get lucky. They might get there. They might also get unlucky.
Yeah. Well, for some people that they're stepping into a budget more cases than not, like they get to a point, they say, okay, I need to have a budget now. And they determine what their best factor is. And they then start to question, well, then what's the importance as far as, and again, what you just laid out makes sense because it has everything drawn out. But if they just ask like in a forum, it's like, hey, I've got like this much in student debt or this much in credit card debt, but I also want to save, because you should save, in my opinion, at least 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, like 6 months. Like you should at least have build up to that 6 months or longer, even a year, into a nest egg for the rainy day fund, as you said. So people will come in with that question of, well, how do I do both? How do I decide when to save or what to save versus paying down the debt?
Yeah. And what budgets are doing is it's really setting a priority for your money. I'm not saying you can't do everything you want to do. I'm just saying you can't do it all at once.
Yeah.
And that's that mindset. Okay, I need, what do I do? What do I do first? Well, you can pick one of those, and really it doesn't matter which one you pick, which your goals you pick first, but at least you're working on one goal. If you have, 100 goals, well, it's hard to focus and say, okay, I'm going to make progress on 23 out of my 100 goals. You need to have a focus because you need to know why you're making the decision you are. My encouragement to people is to set up a budget at the beginning of the month and check in on it every week to see, am I off or am I going wherever? Well, that goal is going to be that true north, if you want to think about it that way.
Yeah.
Am I going in the right direction? So for example, when people talk, well, I want to retire, okay, we'll use net worth as a true north. Am I making progress in my net worth? My total, how much I owe minus my debts? Well, it's great if your debts are zero. That just makes your math work easily.
Yeah.
But now what happens is with a budget, we know we're going in the right direction versus just well, I'm going somewhere. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, in closing, how can people get in touch with you? If you want to put maybe in the chat, I'll add it in there.
Yeah. So my website is childfreewealth.com. I'm going to add that in there. The other thing I'm asking everybody, I am currently working on a book looking at child-free wealth. I'm really trying to get to this question of what does it look like? And it's interesting. Some of the starting data says child-free wealth is a combination of time, money, and freedom. What do you think about that, Cody?
I mean, I can see that, and happiness, I guess, is the fourth to me.
So the question is, can you have happiness without the other three?
I see them interchanging. Like they're connected.
They are.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to get to, this question of what does it mean to be wealthy as a child-free person? It's not necessarily finances, but what's that life look like? And I'm really doing that for two reasons. I'm trying to help child-free people see what the options are. But I'm also trying to go to my financial friends and say, here's what it looks like, and here's how it's different.
Yeah, we're a legitimate piece of the society. Like we're a real thing.
Yeah, and you should treat child-free people in a different plan than everybody else. So I just threw the link in, childfreewealth.com/book. I'm looking to survey 1,000 people and interview 100, and really figure out what life looks like.
Yeah.
So if you can, love to have you participate. If you participate, you get a free copy of the book. That's all I got. I can't get. I don't have any other free gifts, but at least that'll get you there. And that information really is going to be helpful for others to understand what a child-free life looks like.
That's awesome. I encourage everyone to do that survey. Get that. I love data. Like I just love data, and it's severely missing from the child-free community. As Dr. J had mentioned, the term childless is given us as a lump sum of anyone who doesn't have a kid that's whatever, over 40 or over 50, regardless of if it's by choice or by circumstance. They lump it all as childless. And so the term child-free doesn't even exist in a lot of the minds of the financial planners in that realm. So yeah, definitely get that data out there, give them some good stuff to publish. Dr. J, thank you for your time. Everybody, it's a lot of fun. I look forward to doing more of these, bringing some more information to the child-free community. Again, I'm child-free, Dr. J is child-free, and we feel that there is a need for these dialogues to happen. And so we encourage everyone to join us. And at the ones in the future, leave a comment in this one once it's archived, and we may be able to go through that and answer it in a future episode. So yeah, until then, we'll catch you guys later. Bye.